It's hard to measure empathy. It's hard to measure things that are not tangible. People's behaviors is, I think, the biggest measure for me. When people feel safe to speak their mind, when they see you not as their boss, but as their coach, when they can come and have conversations with you, when they're not scared to bring things up, when they want to move company forward without even thinking about it, is really the best measure for me. I always think we have so much potential in this company, people potential, and we've seen the power of this potential being unleashed.
First thing I do before we spend a day with anybody is we take them on the floor and say, go talk to somebody. Go talk to anybody you want to talk to. Ask them anything you want. When they come back, they just come back just shaking their heads. They're like, I can't believe the ownership. I can't believe the accountability. I can't believe how happy everybody is, the tenure. I think that's how I measure it.
Welcome to E3, Engage and Empower with Empathy, a podcast brought to you by the Empathy Collective, a consulting firm that helps business leaders inspire change, one conversation at a time. I'm Rebecca Dhrimaj, your host and founder of the Empathy Collective, and we are building a community of like-minded leaders and experts who all share the same passion, taking care of people at work. Whether you are a plant manager trying to humanize the factory floor, a small business owner wanting to build a strong culture that lasts, or a corporate executive striving to prevent burnout in your team, you belong in this community. When you walk through the doors of OC Tanner, you don't just see a manufacturing floor, you feel something different. There's an energy of respect, belonging, and pride. It's the kind of culture that doesn't happen by accident. It's built, moment by moment, through connection, listening, and the courage to lead with empathy. Today, I'm sitting down with two leaders who have been at the heart of that transformation. Gary Peterson, Executive Vice President of Supply Chain and Manufacturing, and Nermana Kuzmanovic, Director of Customer Award Production. Gary has been with OC Tanner for over 3 decades, witnessing firsthand the company's evolution from a top-down, hierarchical organization to one that thrives on trust, empowerment, and respect for every individual. And Nermana, who came to the U.S. as a refugee from war-torn Bosnia, brings a powerful perspective on compassion, resilience, and what it truly means to find family in the workplace. In our conversation, we explore how empathy became the foundation of OC Tanner's culture, transforming employee engagement, unlocking potential, and creating space for 49 languages, countless stories, and one shared mission: to help people thrive at work. We'll talk about how respect shows up in everyday moments, from one-on-one coaching conversations to the company's now famous cookies and milk gatherings that bring leaders and employees together. And we'll tackle the modern leadership challenges they face, from strengthening the leadership pipeline to adapting to a multi-generational workforce with new expectations for balance and meaning. This is E3. Engage and Empower with Empathy. Welcome to the show, Gary and Nermana. It's such a delight to have both of you here today. I normally have one-on-one interviews with podcast guests, so this is a special treat to have two employees at OC Tanner join me to talk about how you're creating an inspired workforce at your company. And I know we've had a lot of interesting conversations offline that have really inspired me, so I'm sure my listeners today will get a lot out of your story and hopefully walk away with some tools that they can take back to their workplace to help engage employees further. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
I know both of you have interesting stories. Gary, maybe we can start with you because I know you've had a long career at OC Tanner. Can you talk about what the company does, first of all, and why you've been there for so long?
Yeah, the answers to those questions are very tightly connected. We have an incredible business model. We consider ourselves the world's most complete workplace recognition and culture partner. So primarily, we're providing one-of-a-kind recognition and other culture-building experiences at scale. We go to market as a tech company, innovative, research-led tech. It's really all about creating a human connection and how those human connections lead to incredible business results. Really, I think a nice fit with the podcast and with your work, and maybe it was only a matter of time before people from OC Tanner joined you here. I joined the company 38 years ago. as an intern. Never intended to stay in Utah. But after my internship, my wife said to me, I don't think you're going to find a better company. We could travel the world. You're not going to find a better company than this one. And that really has rung true. After a few years in marketing, I moved to manufacturing as a change facilitator, and it was hard. Change is hard. We had 1,400 people who we were trying to get to move in a new direction that allowed them to be their best selves. And it was taking a toll on me. And at one point, my sister said to me, you look awful. I was just like, thank you. And she said, you ought to get out of there before that company kills you. And I thought long and hard about that. I thought, is this killing me? And I thought, no, it's not. I mean, I love this company. I love what we do. I love the people here. We're going to make this work. And if anything, it solidified my determination to make a difference there.
What got you over that hump? Did you determine that it wasn't the company killing you, that it was self-induced?
I think the question got me over the hump. I think maybe that I was, up until that point, being buffeted by all the struggles and the difficulties, and was like, no, I'm going to make this happen. I just got determined and fixed in that determination. And then I don't think it was so easy to knock me off my game.
And I'm just naturally curious about this particular experience that you were having around change, because I'm a change readiness consultant. So
Yeah.
I just love to know what was it that was causing that stress in you? What was really burning you out at that point with regards
So
to leading people through change?
there were two things that I was trying to make happen. One was changing from a big batch orientation to more of a one piece flow, so the way the work was flowing through the factory. But the other one was engaging the people more. And we were very top down, controlling, autocratic, very bureaucratic, it was hierarchical. And it was typical 50s, last century 50s style management, where the manager was like the lord of his or her kingdom, and whatever they say went. Everyone just shut up and do what you're told. And so people were underutilized, and there was a lot of fear, and people just kept their heads down, tried to be safe. And what we were trying to go to was where managers, we've really turned that upside down, where now the people are running the factory, and the manager's role now is a teacher and a coach and a mentor. And that transition was difficult. It wasn't. It was hard. It was hard to get the people to believe it, but once they believed it, they drew themselves into it. But management was harder, because in their mind it was like, I don't know if I can be successful in this new way. I know how to be successful in this. I control it. You do what I say methodology, but you talk about me being empowering and teaching and engaging. I don't know how to do that. And so that's hard. That's where the hard work came in.
Maybe we can backtrack a little bit to you, Nermana, because you probably were involved in this transformation and kind of had a different viewpoint than Gary may have had in his role. So let's hear your story first of all before we get into your involvement in the transformation. I know you have an interesting background. You were not born and raised in the US. And so you have a nice story of how you migrated here to begin with. So how did you end up at OC Tanner?
Well, I came as a refugee from Bosnia, and there was a war back in 90s, and a lot of people from Bosnia at that time came to Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City really is the city that is maybe not at that time wasn't well known, but it really is the place where a lot of people were coming. It's almost like a Red Cross of the United States. I heard of OC Tanner Company, didn't understand much about it. It's my first job, and I've been here for 26 years now, and I have no regrets. It's not very common nowadays to stay with a company for a very long time, but it's very common for OC Tanner to have very long tenure. So my experience was somewhat similar to what Gary was at the beginning explaining. It was different times. It was change. But what I really, really was excited about is the opportunity to be the part of that change. And even though my English hasn't been the best at that time, and I always felt the sense of belonging and inclusion. Anything that we worked on during that time involved people, and maybe it was a little bit different because I joined maybe 9, 10 years after Gary. But during the time when I joined, really things have been happening for better. The change was taking place and the feeling of inclusion was very strong. I loved coming to work, and I remember those times because I would drive to work in the morning and think about the things that I could suggest to be the part of creating this better work environment. And just like with everything else at OC Tanner, this company has this magic to pull you in and to keep you there because I was reflecting on this the other night. And I think for me, the greatest thing about this company is that it's just the respect. It's not something that is posted on a wall. It's actually being done day in and day out. When people genuinely listen to you, you get the opportunity to be part of something. Really, this energy unleashes that is unstoppable. And I think that's where the change can happen. If it's forced and not natural, it's really hard to get where the Occitana is today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because I feel like a lot of companies put those posters on the wall, right? I mean, you can imagine in a typical corporate environment, you have these really inspiring posters, someone like climbing a mountain and holding someone else's hand behind them, and respect, and then it's just like right there hanging on the wall. And there's such a difference when you don't even have to put that poster there, and you just see it, you feel it around you. I know we talked about this in some conversations offline, and I'd love for you to dig into the change that you experienced personally, Nermana, coming to a foreign country as a refugee and then walking into the doors of OC Tanner, which remind me again, how many nationalities are represented in your
There
employee?
are 49 different languages spoken in Occitana.
49 languages. That is
Yes.
incredible. And you all clearly have this common language of respect, which is cool. So how when you were coming to the US, and I love the story you told me. I remember you saying that you just showed up with what, 2 suitcases and some that included vinyls that your husband refused to
I think it
to
was mostly
I
Lauren's. Yeah.
It was mostly vinyls because my husband refused to leave him behind. So we had everything that really mattered. I was 5 months pregnant, so I brought the baby with me and the vinyls. So we were ready to tackle this American dream.
What was that like when you first got here?
Well, it was different. Everything around US is different than Europe. And in Salt Lake particular, it's a little bit different vibe because not a lot of people is walking on the streets. I come from the place where everybody just strolls around and everybody here uses cars. It is a little bit more on a spread outside. I understand now why we do that, but at the time it was interesting. But I think OC Tanner is in some sense a reflection of Salt Lake City. It is the place that I fall in love with. It was totally different than what I expected, but welcoming not just to the OC Tanner, I felt always like the part of this bigger community. And that's why I think I never even thought about leaving Salt Lake or OC Tanner because both of them are part of who I became and who I am. And I just love it.
I love that. When Zoran and Nermana came to OC Tanner, Zoran came with her to OC Tanner. I don't know if you came with him. I'm not sure which was which. But we were about 7 years into the transition, and Nermana's manager, John, good man, a really good man, who just didn't know before how to lead in this new way. And he was stumbling through it. He was trying. He really worked hard to be a good manager. And about the time that Nermana got here, he was doing very well. And he still wasn't perfect. He was still struggling with, connection and empathy and understanding. But it was interesting as people were trying to rise up, as managers were trying to rise up, they both gave each other room to grow, room to improve. And so it's not like anybody made it hard. As John was trying new things and sometimes failing, everyone's like, it's okay, keep trying. And it's great to hear that from your teammates. And likewise, when the teammates were trying to do things and failing, John was doing a better job of saying, that's all right. That's how we do things. And that's about the time Nermana got here. And so I think my guess is she could see something was happening, something worthwhile was happening.
And it was amazing. It was so much energy on the floor when I joined that people were volunteering, wanted to grow, wanted to learn, wanted to be part of something bigger. And it really, now looking back on those days, I always had the sense of belonging with OC Tanner from the day one. I never felt any different than anybody else. And not just amongst my peers or team members where I started but also from the leaders. I had always had a support, and having a support and someone cheering on you, especially from the leadership, is really this, this amazing feeling that puts you in a position where you are willing to try anything, to do anything, because you know that people around you believe that you're capable, even sometimes when you are not really confident that some things could be done. And it's hard to really translate that feeling because it's something that you feel. It's something that cannot be written on a mission statement or a purpose statement. It really happens. And it takes, I think, everyone to be willing to cheer on each other and make you feel safe in trying different things. And it's the culture that it's hard to replicate unless you really have your heart in it. Yeah.
Can I just add one thing to that? So many of our refugees have suffered through horrible situations. And so there's there's something we share with each other here where we understand that we don't know all the difficulties of the past. We understand there's been a lot of hard times. And people really give each other a lot of grace because of that. But also a lot of people have lost family and friends. And so when we talk here about being here 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, I love it when people say, you have become my family. You are my family. And I think that's a powerful expression of the love and the feelings that we have for each other here.
I think that's such a beautiful depiction of the culture that you've created. Not many people associate love with their workplace. That's just very unique. And I'd love to know, because I oftentimes talk with senior leaders who, we talk about culture and, they say, you can feel it, you can sense it, but there's a certain intangible component to it. It's hard to measure. So I'm just curious, when you went through the transformation, Gary, first of all, how are you measuring success from a transformation perspective? Was something that seems so intangible to, it's so difficult to measure. At what point did you know that you had succeeded?
We have become a highly sought after go and see site. We have 1,000+ visitors a year who come. We're a go and see site for McKinsey. We're a showcase for Toyota. And they bring their clients here. When their clients say, I want to figure out how to get my people more engaged, more accountable, more involved. And they say, well, let's see if we can go get into the OC Tanner supply chain and visit with people there. And when they come, I ask them, what are you looking for? What did they tell you? And they always say, people tell us we need to get on the floor and talk to your people. First thing I do before we spend a day with anybody is we take them on the floor and say, go talk to somebody. Go talk to anybody you want to talk to. Ask them anything you want. I give them 10 minutes. When they come back, they just come back just shaking their heads. They're like, I can't believe the ownership. I can't believe the accountability. I can't believe how happy everybody is, the tenure. And I think that's how I measure it. I mean, we have had incredible efficiency gains, astonishing improvements in quality and safety, and huge reductions in cost. But the biggest gain is the self confidence that our people have developed in themselves and in each other.
People's behaviors is, I think, the biggest measure for me. When people feel safe to speak their mind, when they see you not as their boss but as their coach, when they can come and have conversations with you, when they're not scared to bring things up, when they want to move company forward without even thinking about it, is really the best measure for me. We have so much potential in this company, people potential, and we've seen the power of this potential being unleashed. Think often about the other companies and maybe how much and how sad is to miss all of what we have. Seeing people engaged and always wanting to learn more, develop more, grow, participate in things that makes their jobs better is for me the best indicator of what we have done.
Yeah, Rebecca, I ride the train into town, into work. It comes right down the middle of town. 10-minute walk into work, 10 minutes back. And I walk through a very blue collar neighborhood on the way to work and the way home. And as I'm walking to the train at night, I see people coming home from work and pulling into their driveways, getting out of their cars, and they look beat. They look like they've been beat up all day, and they look exhausted. And it feels to me like they're kind of dragging themselves into their homes, almost like, hey, somebody prop me up, somebody build me up, somebody give my confidence back so that I can go back to work tomorrow. And I want to work for a company where the people bound out the door. They got a spring in their step, and they're high-fiving each other, and they're congratulating each other on a powerful day, and they're going home with confidence saying, we made things better here. Let's go home and fix things there, and in the community and the churches and the schools, whatever's wrong, let's fix it. And I feel like that's who our people are. And we like to think that during the day we're getting stronger and stronger emotionally and physically and intellectually.
I agree. If I may just add to that when a workplace transformation happens, like it happened with OC Tenor, when people feel seen, valued, it really is not just a job or place where you go to work. It's more than that. It is a sense of family. It is where human potential becomes alive, and you can see a lot of things changing for better. Not just at work, but also at home, because it tends to spill over.
And the fact that you've built an environment where you're actually contributing to well-being of your people so that they're coming home to their families energized and inspired about what they did during the day. I almost want to just go into people's homes and like, how's your marriage? How's your relationship with your children? That's what
Yeah.
businesses should be measuring because it makes such a direct impact on people's lives and we just don't realize it.
To that point, Becca, we teach a lot of lean principles like continuous improvement, problem solving, 5S and so forth, 8 wastes. But after our people have been here about 5 to 6 months, we gather them together and we say to them, we've taught you a lot and it's really important, but we're hoping that by now you've realized how unique it is here. We want to talk now about that uniqueness. And we spend 2 days on what we call an outward mindset, where we're talking about instead of looking after number one, let's look around you and see, what can I do to help other people be successful? And understand where other people are, and don't take offense, don't be so quick to leap to judgment, don't be judgmental. Let's give each other some room to grow and develop, and let's help each other succeed. And we teach that in a way that our people say, I take this home. It's changed everything about my life. And I'm not saying we don't have any family problems here or any interpersonal issues, but I think they're more rare than they are in most places.
Yeah. That's very special. And Amana, in the last conversation we had together, You were giving me some examples of unique things that happen in OC Tanner, like your cookies and milk gatherings. What are some special things that you do in the workplace besides some of the broader sweeping, we're coaching, we're problem solvers, we're curious rather than judgmental? What are some specific activities and things you do that really make the workplace super engaging?
Most of these activities have been brought by Gary and his vision of making this great work place to work. And one of them is cookies meeting, which is kind of powerful. It is a half an hour meeting where all of the VPs and directors are included. We invite team members who have birthdays in in that month, or we change it. Sometimes it's by the alphabet or birthdays, just to mix it up. So we end up in a room with people from all over the company who don't spend the days working next to each other, and we talk about some of the principles. We talk about the experiences, as well as some of the things that they're really proud of. They would ask, hey, has there been something that you worked on in the last few months? And would you like to share it with us? It's use Japanese words a lot because of the lean manufacturing, but it's like sharing the experiences, yokotaning the things in a different areas, learning from each other. People just, you wouldn't believe how engaged they become and how proud they are to share what they have accomplished. And it's not part of it, it's not an expectation. We have the things in terms of performance that we expect, but this is something to, if you have an idea of how to make something better, let's talk about it. This is the question that comes often. It's not, we don't offer any bonuses for people who have ideas. And that is not very common in the companies that don't have the culture as we do. People are just willing to go and look for things and work on them and improve them and then share what they have done. And it really, you look at that room and just those conversations that are happening in every corner of the room. And as a leader, it makes you so proud. It makes you so fulfilled. And I think that that's the thing that we can't measure. It's not, you can't quantify it, but you can feel it. And it's very unique to what we do.
I think you could gather those people up. So it's like 30, 35 people at a time. And I could do a PowerPoint presentation, try and walk them through something, and nobody says a word. But instead, we sit in a big circle and I invite them to speak on topics. And there's not very much silence. They're all jumping in. It's astonishing to me how everyone has something to add. Everyone has something, and they teach each other. And I think that's so much more powerful to me, click. Let's talk about why this matters at OC Tanner. No, why don't you guys tell each other why it matters at OC Tanner? And we call it a cookie meeting because the chef makes us luscious hot cookies. Right? They're like this big. And, it's interesting. No matter where you are in the world, it seems like everybody likes a hot chocolatey cookie.
Yeah, isn't there, I forget which hotel chain does that in the US.
Yeah, there's somebody,
You a hot
right?
cookie and you're just like, you get off the airplane, you go into the hotel, you're like, "Oh, this is
Yeah,
amazing. This is
it
exactly
creates.
what I need right now."
Yeah, I mean, they were literally, they come out of the oven and they're sitting on the tray. You pick it up and the chocolate, it's just like everyone loves them.
My
Even
mouth.
our guests, we have now visitors asking about the cookies.
I
I
love
said,
that.
"Hey, we heard you have awesome cookies. Is that something that you guys offer to everyone?"
You have Toyota in your office today. Are they getting cookies?
Yeah, they,
Probably.
they came for the cookies.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'd love to just wrap up with one final question because we've talked about all, this amazing transformation that you've taken the company through, this positive culture that you've built, and clearly it's an inspiring place to work. But every business has its challenges. And I remember when we talked last, one of the things that you mentioned, Gary, was building a strong leadership pipeline and adapting to a multi-generational workforce with shifting expectations about work and life, especially in the manufacturing setting. So I'd love to know how you are preparing your next generation of leaders, especially as I know, Gary, you're about to phase into retirement, leaving a legacy and then also preparing the next round of young managers and leaders at OC Tanner. What are you doing to make preparations along those lines?
Well, it's not just at the team level that we ask people to step up and take ownership. It's at every level. So Nermana has her share of the business and she runs it. And she runs it by engaging her people. And we don't tell her how to do it. She wants input. She wants our thoughts. We can give them to her. And we do that all the way up and down the scale. I think that our leaders love the autonomy that they have. And I constantly remind them that their people want the same autonomy. So we try to make it safe and we try to give them the opportunity to make choices on how to run the business. And so that's one of the ways we develop people. We have dozens of training courses that are available at all levels of the company. So there's not like a course that is taught to management or to executives. We have a problem solving course and anybody can join it. And so you'll have people from all levels in this course learning together. And we also have LinkedIn Learning available for all employees to get in and enjoy at their leisure whatever they want to learn, anything they want to learn. We're in. So we really consider ourselves a learning organization. And we've got a bookshelf right here behind me where we have it stocked with the books that have made an impact in our lives. And we ask people, come get a book and read it. And I think that's a really good sign when hourly people are walking up and say, grabbing a book and they take it home and it's theirs. Not all people want to be leaders, all people want to grow. So providing opportunities to grow and where they can kind of control that in their own life is what we do for everybody. Where we have fallen short is I wish that more team members were trying to become team leaders. I wish more team leaders were trying to become managers. So we have struggled there and we focus on it a lot. I think our people are too doggone happy in their current roles. I think that's the problem. So we probably need to tighten that up a little bit.
I was going to say, what is preventing them from wanting that manager role? What is your perspective on that, Nirmana? You've obviously progressed your career a lot at OC Tanner. Were you an individual contributor when you started and then eventually developed yourself into a leadership role? And if that's the case, what propelled you in that direction?
That is an interesting question because I feel we are all on a different paths and we encourage everyone to grow and develop. And we do provide opportunities for such. And I think as a person, some people feel more comfortable being surrounded by the group of people and feeling like a family. It's not always easy for some to get out of that comfort zone of that family environment. And some people enjoy having people report to them, some don't. And I don't think that just pertains to OC Tanner. I think many people find where they're mostly comfortable with. For me, I always try to cheer people and really support them to take the next step. But I would never make that decision for them. That has to come from their own willingness to do that. For me personally, I just always wanted to work with people. I always loved manufacturing since I started working in it. Coaching people, spending time with people was always one of my passions. I just enjoy seeing the reward that one has after seeing someone being successful in the roles they're in. And so I think we all take different paths. But in my mind, too, what's been interesting from my side of view is new generations entering the leadership positions. And now you have this multi-generational floor, and you have leaders who are entering the workforce, and you have reports who have been well into their 30 year of experience reporting to those that are coming off of the colleges. But it's been really interesting to see that type of adaptability in a workspace, because we teach our leaders, even those new ones who are entering the workforce, not that metrics is great and we all need to meet certain KPIs and take the team where it needs to be. But for us specifically, metrics is not the only thing that we seek in our leadership. We are looking for people who are willing to listen, people who have empathy for those that report to them, who can build trust, who can collaborate. And we do that through a few different things. The way how we hire managers as maybe somewhat unique to OC Tanner, because our managers start when we hire them through the interviews, they go on a 3-month long project. During that project, they don't have direct reports. We tend to assign random projects that they need to accomplish. But what we don't tell them is that the results of that project is not really that important. What we are looking for is their ability to connect, to gain trust without the authority. And they have 90 days to work on that. And it's been during those 90 days, it's not like we just throw them and say, okay, you go on a project. Of course, they have mentors, they have coaches that kind of help them on board and help them with the project. But after 90 days, we know if people are the right choice for OC Center. Culture is very important to us. So we want to be very sensitive to who we hire and how they really integrate with what we have. So I think with the newer generation, we're spending a lot of time teaching them the importance of collaboration and connection rather than running the metrics.
Yeah, maybe to Nermana's point, a lot of times in many companies, I think getting promoted, getting a leadership role is about power. And for us, we don't want that. We want people who want to make a difference in people's lives. And maybe that's why people maybe aren't stepping up, is because on every team, every person has an impact on other people's lives. And so it's like, well, I am having an impact on my teammates' lives. It's the ones who want to do more. That's who we're promoting, not people who crave power and authority. And those words, I mean, naturally those come with title, but that's not what we want driving people into leadership jobs here.
Yeah, no, that's such a good philosophy. Given everything we discussed today, the good side of running a business and the challenges that you face as well, for business leaders who are listening to this conversation and thinking, gosh, what is the one step I can take to get, closer towards that objective of a respectful workplace, a workplace that you've built and you've taken the time to really invest in it. It almost seems daunting sometimes for
Yeah.
people who are in the middle of kind of what you were in the middle of when you were like, is this killing me? Well, let's say there's someone listening right now who's asking, or their brother or their sister's asking them that question right now.
Yeah.
Is this job killing you? What is one piece of advice you would give them? Like what one baby step they could take
Yep.
to move forward?
I tell you what, I think started to melt the ice between leaders and people was connection with each other. And we stepped into it quite by accident. We were trying to help people take responsibility for their results, for quality and cost and safety. And so we asked every manager to sit down every week with every team member, just a 5-minute conversation about the last week. And nobody wanted to do that. They weren't used to talking one on one, sitting across, just interacting, but they had to do it. And they probably didn't do it well at first, but I don't think that mattered. Like 6 weeks into it, the ice was melting. And I think you can't help but start to see someone else as a person. The more you talk to them, the more you interact with them, the more you see their strengths and their capabilities. I had no idea who you really were. And it goes both ways. Team members talking to the manager and realizing he or she isn't the devil incarnate. They're not this horrible person. They're just like me. They have hopes and fears and dreams just like I do. I think that connection is what made the difference. And if I had to go back 3 decades ago and start over again, I would still go right there, start to create connection between managers and people. And we just doubled down. Within a year, the team members were owning those results. And we did away with that system, but we said, what we're not doing away with is the connection. Now, every manager is going to sit down with every person every 2 weeks for 30 minutes and focus on their success and their well-being. And people didn't want to do that either. I'm a busy person. What do you want me to drop? And I was like, I don't care what you drop. And to this day, I don't know what they dropped. We didn't miss it. But I have managers who were saying, man, spending this time with the team members is actually freeing up time for me because a lot of the issues I've been trying to solve are going away because we're connecting and we're interacting or we're really treating this as a different type of workplace.
Well, and speaking of connection, you even told me before we started the recording, you are sitting in your former office. Let's talk about why you were sitting in your former office.
Yeah. So at one point, this was a long time ago, was it 15 years ago or so, Nermana? I said to the managers, man, I wish you weren't in your offices. I wish you were out on the floor in the middle of your teams where you can really have an impact on them. And within 2 hours, one of them was in the middle of his team. And I was so impressed. I grabbed a workstation from the factory. They move up and down. They're height adjustable. And I put my computer on it and I walked out the door and I set up my desk out here in the middle of this common area. And one by one, my VPs and my directors came and sat next to me and gave up their offices. This is now a very well-used conference room, this office that I'm sitting in. And all the directors and VPs sit out here in a common area. It's our huddle area. So groups huddle up here throughout the day. And we don't have to be in the huddle. We can hear the huddle. And they know we can hear them. And it just feels like a better way to lead.
I love that. Did you have any final thoughts, Nirmana, on what Gary just said about that one baby step leaders can take?
I do. I think a lot of people still lives the old ways of management. Micromanaging is not the way. We learned that through our journey. The power of empowering people, of being okay when mistakes are made, really unleashes so much more human potential that anyone have ever seen.
I love that. Human empowerment, no micromanaging, promoting human connection, getting out of your office with the door shut and just getting out into the open space with your team. There are so many beautiful things happening at OC Tanner, and I really appreciate both of you taking the time to share, kind of opening the curtain, if you will, of what's happening within the walls of OC Tanner and how you're really not just creating better technology, better products, but you're creating better humans too.
Oh, wonderful. Fantastic. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks for being with me today. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you would like to learn more about the Empathy Collective, check out our website, theempathycollective.com. Life is too short. Let's take care of each other at work so that together we can make this world a better place.